Am I the butthole for telling my cousin what she was eating? This happened in 2019, but has recently been brought back up, hence my post. Necessary background: I'm half French, dad, half American, mom. When I was 11, my family moved from the States to France. I lived there during the school year and spent summers back in the US. Growing up, I had a cousin, Jane, who I was never very close with. When I moved to France, she was outwardly jealous at first, but then started using it to brag to her friends, because it meant she got to visit us there pretty often. We don't live in Paris, but Jane was always telling people about how she went to Paris all the time. When we got older, the bragging stopped because they didn't visit as much, and she became hostile towards me. I cut contact and figured that was the end of it. In autumn 2019, I got married in France and invited all my American family. Husband and I live near a small castle that's rented out as a gîte, kind of like a holiday home, so we paid for my family to stay there since there isn't enough room at the house. Jane was invited because I didn't think it would be right to exclude her when her siblings were coming. In France in the autumn, there is a huge culture of going mushrooming. We went as a family and everyone loved it except Jane. She spent the whole time complaining and making nasty comments. When my mother-in-law and I were making dinner for everyone using the mushrooms we had picked, Jane came into the kitchen, said, "Wow, I didn't realize you were so poor that you had to eat stuff you picked off the forest floor," and then walked out. I was so ashamed but also so thankful my mother-in-law doesn't speak a lot of English. She ate around the mushrooms at dinner and kept making disgusted faces. A few days later, we went to a nice restaurant for dinner. Jane ordered a dish with the same mushrooms she had been disgusted by, but since this was an expensive restaurant, she wouldn't shut up about how incredible the food was, how the mushrooms were so much better than anything you could get in the States, and how she couldn't wait to go to the market to buy some. So I told her she wouldn't have needed to buy any if she had participated more in the mushrooming, since they were the same, but we got ours for free. When I said that, she completely stopped eating her meal and refused to interact with me for the rest of the trip. There was a huge rift in the family, because she left the day before the wedding and spent the rest of her time in Paris. My aunt was furious that I had publicly insulted Jane and was very cold to me for the rest of their time here. Recently we've been wanting to plan a family reunion for when things are safe, but my aunt is saying she and Jane wouldn't come after how I treated her. Am I the butthole for my comment? Not the butthole. How did you insult her? That doesn't even make sense. You told her a fact. Facts aren't insulting. They are just facts. Now if you said, "Listen you dumb ass, you realize you're eating the same mushrooms you just crap all over the other day, right?" Which is still the truth but a little less kind. Lol. Your cousin is a brat. Good riddance. I wouldn't want cousin or aunt at my family reunion if they can't even act like adults. You're the butthole for not doing the second one. It would have been funny, seriously, though the second one still would have been not the butthole, but you took a much more mature approach, so I guess you're a better person than I am laughing my butt off. Put spaces in between you're the butthole so the auto mod doesn't count it as a vote. Auto mod only counts the top comment. It only counts it in parent comments. It also does not count as in tally. Whatever the verdict is on the top post is used by the auto mod to flare the post. It's all in the sidebar. I didn't know that. How strange. I'm on mobile so I don't see a sidebar. If this link doesn't work, you can read more about it under final judgment. Lots of other info too, why certain things get banned, what all the acronyms mean, and more, web link. Cool, thank you for the information. I understand better now why it's not a tally. I usually just post my own comment instead of upvoting and will do more voting now instead. To be fair, this has changed a tad, depending on what you care about, because of /r/AITA filtered. So the bots do now count them, and it matters for that sub. Whether any individual cares about that particular side of things is up to them, though. And regardless, that also only counts top-level comments. Reddit link. That's kind of dumb. I've seen multiple posts with a popular comment and way more people disagreeing with the judgment but maybe liked something else the top comment said. I also dislike when that happens. The best we can do is use up/down votes. Part of fixing that is helping people to understand that upvoting comments on this sub is a vote for their verdict too, not just part of their comment. Woman shrugging. It's not a vote anyway, it's a second comment and it's a joke. It always amazes me how many people don't know how this sub works. Both of these women were incredibly disrespectful to you on the week/weekend of your wedding, and you were polite and kind. F them, you owe them nothing and good riddance. Consider yourself lucky that you don't need to interact with them anymore. Not the butthole. Something about apple not falling far from the tree. Agreed. I feel like this is a good outcome for everyone involved. What a relief she's not coming. It's always nice when the trash takes itself out. I agree. Shocking that telling someone hey that's the same kind of mushroom caused aunt and cousin to cut off that part of the family. If anyone were to hold a grudge, it would be original poster because cousin dramatically didn't go to the wedding over mushrooms. While Jane insulted her cooking in Op's own home, rolling eyes face. And also insulting Op's mill. For a narcissist, being wrong, and being proved wrong in front of others is worse than death. They never forgive it or forget it. Exactly, where did she think mushrooms came from? I mean, usually anything you buy off a farm originated from nature anyway, so if you had access to the not factory farmed, pesticide free, and GMO free, 100%, organic version for free, why would you not choose those? Not the butthole. Worse, what does she think the cultivated mushrooms are grown on? Well, they don't forage for mushrooms in Paris, so it must not be a la mode. Which is funny, because isn't foraging for mushrooms a very upper crust thing to do? Ridiculous expensive truffles are sought out in the wild and pigs are used to help find them. Now you've got me thinking about mushrooms covered in ice cream. France is probably the only place that would think to do something like that. Everywhere have their own quirks. Americans deep fry anything and everything, cover it in cheese, and then deep fry it again. Even ice cream got deep fry. These are the same people who will buy mass-produced beef but turn up their noses at hunters. Also, going foraging for wild mushrooms in rural France is the most hopelessly charming activity I can think of. What kind of Grinch turns up their nose at this? I know it's not really a wholesome reply, but it's the only award I have. Aw, thank you. Now if you said listen you dumb ass, you realize you're eating the same mushrooms you just crap all over the other day, right? Which is still the truth but a little less kind. Lol. Lol. In my family, that is pretty much how it would have gone. Are you effing stupid? These are the same damn mushrooms we foraged for yesterday. My boyfriend's family picks sponge morels. His mom is actually driving for hours to go back to Indiana to do some foraging next month. If someone had walked into the kitchen and said some snarky little crap like that, a comment like this at dinner later would be the nice version of what she would say. She was rude and childish, and the aunt doesn't sound much better if she defends that kind of behavior. Right? I would take it as a win if neither of them came to the family reunion. For real. I need copious amounts of booze to handle my own family reunions, and no one in my family acts like this. Though skipping out would only bring a sigh of relief from me. Like, imagine if her mother-in-law had been better at English and heard her cousin trashing the food she was preparing. I wouldn't want some acting so tactless around. The insult was, telling her how to save money? I'm glad you pointed out that facts are just facts. They're not inherently insulting at all. To be insulted by them alone is a sign of immaturity. I don't think that's totally fair. If I walked up to a widow at her husband's funeral and said your husband was unhappy in his marriage and he killed himself, even if that's true, being insulted by it isn't a sign of immaturity. Facts are facts, sure, but the deployment of them is subject to social norms and manners. But that's using it to insult someone. Absolutely. And facts being facts has no bearing on the situation. That's all I'm saying. Just because it's true doesn't mean you're not in the wrong for saying it. My point was facts are facts and are not inherently insulting. Your example was of someone using it to insult someone. Completely different situation. Other than that, we're completely on the same page. So I guess I'm just curious, then, what being factual has to do with it? since it seems like the important thing to consider isn't factuality but how said facts are being used. So what's the point of saying facts are facts? It being a fact doesn't matter in that situation. A person in your example has used it in an act of malice. It's an insult. No mature person would do that. They're projecting. I'm not understanding what the problem is here. You're free of those two ridiculous women and you should be happy. You did nothing wrong, but their reaction was unbelievably childish. Good riddance. Not the butthole. Nta at all. Facts are facts. My aunt is saying she and Jane wouldn't come. Op's response: don't threaten me with a good time. Not the butthole. Food is food. Clearly the cousin was crafting on original poster for mushrooming as a personal thing. How dare they fact her and use their powers of common sense against her. Evil be gone. I don't get how there was an insult either, haha. My aunt was furious that I had publicly insulted Jane and was very cold to me for the rest of their time here. Gee, I wonder where Jane learned her disrespectful, crafty, nasty way of treating other people. Not the butthole. Jane embarrassed herself long before you embarrassed her. You should probably count yourself lucky that she didn't attend your wedding. You may have avoided additional jealousy-inspired scenes. I wouldn't be surprised she would spin a whole story on Instagram to make strangers feel jealous, even though she has a bratty two-faced attitude to everything. She would probably tell all about the mushroom culture and how enriching it was. Her new username, @4gingenfrance. #Europe, #OMG, #blessed, #bonjour, #JSusan hypocrite, #champignon, #Paris, #Eiffel Tower. Places this whole comment thread took me to, there. I can visualize this account so clearly that I can already see the pink filters and obnoxious gold cursive letters in the stories. Also, don't forget the beret at the peace sign selfies. This is giving me Emily in Paris vibes. Recently we've been wanting to plan a family reunion for when things are safe, but my aunt is saying she and Jane wouldn't come after how I treated her. Don't threaten me with a good time. Not the butthole. Yes, their absence doesn't sound like a bad thing. What is it they think they are threatening you with exactly? The thread is probably amped up family drama, that aunt is likely the sister of one of Op's parents, and annoying drama tends to trickle downward. I like promise? Seriously. So it's okay for your cousin and aunt to behave rudely to you on your wedding weekend, but it's not okay for you to tell her that the mushrooms are the same? Okay, January. Oh thank God, I was wondering how I could get away with not inviting you too. And nothing of value was lost. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. And what kind of spoiled idiot doesn't know where mushrooms come from? And I love mushrooms, especially in savory dishes, and I would have loved learning how to forage for them. Op, host the family reunion in France and breathe easier that Jane and the aunt won't attend. Right, that's such a cool family outing. I wish I had a French cousin to go shrooming with, lol. It's pretty easy. You just need a good knowledge of which mushrooms are good or not and how to recognize or see which of two similar mushrooms is dangerous and which is heavenly good. It can be hard to recognize two similar mushrooms, so except if you have done so before, it is always best to have someone more experienced help you identify which mushrooms can be cooked and eaten safely after you have picked them, or while you do it. Most mushrooms are picked at their base, close to the ground or tree roots they are growing on/close to. You can often find some in shady, humid areas. If you plan on doing so alone, I recommend reading/researching what kind of edible mushrooms are available in wooded areas near you. You can start by picking them up, and bringing them home with you, and then check which ones are good or not using different documentations to do so. 2 pieces of advices: wear gloves at first when picking them, so if you touch/pick a dangerous one you won't get a reaction, and if you can't recognize 2 similar but slightly different mushrooms, or any mushroom really, throw both out. No need to get food poisoning. No need to get food poisoning. I think this understates the risk a little. Eating the wrong mushroom can mean death from kidney failure, not just some puking. I for one would not eat wild mushrooms, even those picked by an expert. I am sorry that I understated the risk. I never had that happen to me, but that is also because I only go mushroom picking with experienced people. I might have forgotten to mention it because of all the help and guidance I receive when picking mushrooms. I recommend to have guidance/help when doing so and at least a basic knowledge of mushrooms. There is also a technique to learn to know if a mushroom you picked will give you an allergic reaction or not, which can be helpful before eating them. Again, it is easy to pick mushrooms. Checking which ones are poisonous or not is the hard part. For anyone who wants to get in the hobby, please be very careful. Mushroom identifying can be very certain if you know what to look for. To an expert, it would be like telling the difference between a peach and an orange. Most of the ones foraged for don't have evil twins that look similar. That's interesting because I would only eat wild mushrooms if they are picked by an expert. I wouldn't be able to trust them otherwise. A fair amount of mushrooms aren't cultivated on a large scale, especially the really pricey yummy ones, so they would have to be foraged by you or someone else for you to have a chance of eating them. I know you can find chanterelles, morels and matsutake here, and I would love to forage for them, but I'm way too scared of misidentifying one and dying. Frankly, it's not easy at all. I live in France and regularly go hiking in the woods. I know a bit about the local mushrooms, yet finding the good spots is surprisingly difficult. Like, I could park the car at a parking spot and head out for a 3-hour walk and see lots of beautiful, yet inedible mushrooms, yet not a single chanterelle or sape. Then while getting in the car, I'd see people emerging from the same woods with a basket full of them. Truth. Lived in Iowa, never found a good morel finding spot. Le sigh. I come from a long line of foragers and live near excellent hunting country for fungi, but have never figured it out. I swear, it's some kind of instinct or talent that builds into skills with experience, but I am clearly not born for it and cannot gain those skills at all. My family used dogs to hunt for truffles, their eyes for everything else. Never made a mistake. I cannot find the edible ones at all. I'm blown away by good foragers. I've went apple picking and strawberry picking, so I'm definitely game for shroom picking. Though I'll admit, I'm not fond of shrooms as food, but I'd still eat them. What about mushrooms don't you like? I ask because don't like most mushrooms because of the texture, but I like gnocchi. I also want to try morels because I've heard they have a different texture than most. Morels are so freaking delicious. They do grow wild round where I live. The mushroom pickers will take those secrets to their graves though, and they're not sharing. For those in the US, here is your mushroom to forage for. Super easy to identify and can be found in any wooded area. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.